and welcome to ECCB Connects, a production of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank designed to share with you who we are, what we do, and how we serve you. On today's episode, we speak with Senior Projects Officer and lead of the ECCB's Greening of the ECCU Financial System Initiative, Kieran St Omer, about how the ECCB is taking a hands-on approach to help the region adapt to the effects of climate change. Stay with us, we'll share more with you after this message.
When the ECCB took the bold step to introduce Dcash, the people of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union were at the heart of this decision.
It's about creating opportunities.
It's about connecting family.
It's about linking friends.
It's about changing the way we do business.
It's about transforming lives.
A journey to a place where none have gone before will not be without its challenges.
But challenges will not deter us from our goal. It's about me.
It's about you.
It's about all of us.
So join us and let's make history together.
Kieran, welcome to ECCB Connects.
Thanks for having me, Karina.
Now, climate change continues to be an issue that the Caribbean region, and no doubt thus us in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, we grapple with. The physical effects are all around us. Every year when hurricane season rolls on, we wait with bated breath to see if we'll be affected by another storm. But there are other angles to which affect us in terms of climate change. Talk to us about how that climate change affects us as a region.
There are a multitude of economic crises all at once facing us. I believe that we can all attest to the fact that we have been facing recurring natural disasters, that we have been stuck in a recovery loop with high rehabilitation costs and reconstruction needs. What this means is high budget deficits, limited fiscal space, and unsustainable debt levels that our governments have to grapple with, and our citizens.
We can all agree that we see, because we have to grapple with these effects of climate change, we're forever in a start over mode, so to speak. And as you've outlined, besides the physical effects, financially, economically, we continue to be hammered by these things. I know the ECCB has taken quite an active role in advocating for climate resilient initiatives across the region and trying to help the region prepare for the effects that we are already facing and then the worst that is probably there to come. Specifically, we have the solar car power project that we started. But in terms of the financial and economic effects of climate change, what is the ECCB doing to assist the region in this regard?
In short, the fundamental answer to your question, Karina, is how do we prepare? Can we adequately prepare for this? The intensifying impacts of climate change and natural disasters. For us at the ECCB, this means preparing our society for a just transition. And what do I mean by that? It's one where we can withstand those kinds of shocks every year. So we can rebuild, and not just rebuild, but to build a better future for our children, ensuring there are jobs for the people that are most impacted by the negative effects of climate change and natural disasters. And think about it, when we look at our energy needs, we are heavily reliant on fossil fuels. And it has been, fossil fuel in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, has been identified as one of the highest contributing costs to climate change and the intensity of hurricanes that we're seeing. So we have an enormous amount of clean energy resources, but we have not been able to exploit or develop those resources. Yet still, we are 90% reliant on fossil fuel power generation, and that is imported fossil fuel products, where we incur at least 6% of our GDP in importing. That is 1.2 billion EC dollars annually when we looked at the last 5 years. Those funds could be left for more socially responsible investments. However, energy is the lifeblood of economic activity. We need it for so many different uses. So one of the things that ECCB is preparing for is to improve investments or attract investments in renewable energy investment so that we can ensure clean, affordable, and reliable energy for all citizens in all member states at all income levels. And I need to stress at all income levels. Right now, we pay at least 33 to 36 US cents. That's the rate in the ECCU on average. Whereas in advanced economies, our trading partners, it is 3 times less than that, 11 US cents. That's the global average that was last year, if I were to quote correctly. So we in the ECCU have the resources, but we have not been using it. And the cost of the transition is high in terms of financing that transition. We have not been able to tap into sustainable finance markets or investors to come into our region to invest because we do not have the right private investment frameworks. So the ECCB, we're championing the development of green finance frameworks in the ECCU. We're also looking at integrating climate risk stress testing into assessing the financial sector and into investment decisions by developing solutions for that and tools that the financial system entities can use. And to top it off, as I mentioned, we are looking to develop renewable energy investment solutions.
You said the ECCB is now working on this green finance initiative, which is geared to encouraging investments and initiatives that can help the region be more climate resilient. Talk to us about what exactly is the Green Finance Initiative?
It's really the allocation of capital to projects such as waste management, climate adaptation, mitigation. I'll break this down as well. Projects that have a positive environmental impact and ecological impact. So when we say we want to mainstream and put a framework and solutions to encourage and incentivize investments in green projects, let's look at it from both angles. The financial institutions provide funds. So we are working with governments, their related ministries. This initiative, the Green Finance Initiative, is a trilateral initiative where it's not just the financial system, but we're taking an economy-wide approach because it's the real sectors that are being impacted. We want to see green loans. When I say green, it's really the use of those proceeds going to green projects, simply put. So, and it's something that has been happening. And what, if you read the literature and the studies out there, several jurisdictions who have gone before us, what they do undertake is a mapping of the flow of funds and use of proceeds from as far back as a decade or two. This new term or thematic area of finance, it's really what it is, a theme. Sustainable flows, sustainable finance. You have climate finance. You have climate adaptation finance. Adaptation is really ensuring resiliency in economic activities that we were already doing, being able to adjust. Like you see the retrofitting of buildings, the LED lights. We have received technical assistance, a number of our member states, to put in LED street lights to help conserve energy. As well, if you think about mitigation, the ECCB's solar canopy car park is an example of a climate mitigation project where we've invested in the generation of clean energy by tapping into a renewable resource, the sunlight.
So this Green Finance Initiative is the ECCB working with the partners, the financial institution, the other real sector partners to encourage or put policies in place that would direct funding to these projects, initiatives that will in fact help us become more climate resilient. Because when somebody might hear about green financing, someone might ask the question, is this a loan? Is this funding that is going to be available to businesses, to persons that have initiatives geared that way? Does it also encompass that angle?
ECCB does not have a direct interface with the common person, citizens. The banks, the credit unions, they do the intermediation, they do the lending, the deposit-taking institutions as well. So we are putting in place policies, we're training and developing the staff of those entities, and as well as the staff of the central bank to ensure we have the capacity to facilitate those types of investments. So there are rules and guidelines that have to be put in place, at least to ensure the integrity of the financial system and to see the impact. We want to see the green projects. We want to be in getting more resilient in everything that we do. We want the funds to be actually put to that use. So this is where ECCB comes in terms of encouraging the adoption of best practices. And I will have to say, all the bells and whistles do not need to be there. As I said, if we had to look back and map the flow of funds where it has been, I can assure you, all our governments can say they've invested in protecting the coastlines. And the tourism, in terms of the investors, we see a lot of people putting solar PV, right, in their rooftop, but not everybody can afford it. So how do we ensure there's that inclusive recovery? As the apex financial regulator, ECCB does have a role to play. It's a trilateral, economy-wide approach we're taking. We're working with related ministries, other financial domestic regulators, like the capital market regulator, the offshore regulators, the credit union regulators, so that all these institutions receive the capacity and the tools to mainstream and assess investment decisions based on the climate risk exposures that may be faced, and also to ensure that funds are being directed to these important sectors across the ECCU.
Kieran, who are some of the partners that the ECCB is working with to achieve this green finance initiative?
Multilateral funding partners like the World Bank has been supporting this initiative from day one. We have been able to tap into the NDC Partnership Initiative for Greening Central Banks, which is a readiness support technical assistance program. And the NDC is a very important organization in that they support member states' governments in implementing their sustainable development goals. So with that in-country, direct in-country liaison and the ECCB as the regulator of the financial system, that trilateral partnership that I spoke about earlier, we have been able to achieve that under that initiative with the NDC partnership. We also have the Agence Française de Développement, which is AFD, the bank, who is also providing technical assistance and support for the non-bank financial sector, like the credit unions, the development banks, to develop tools for them as well. We have also partnered with the Sustainable Banking and Finance Network, which is a member of the IFC, which is a member of the World Bank Group, and they have been facilitating peer-to-peer exchanges with jurisdictions where we're able to learn from their best practices and their sustainable finance journeys. Jurisdictions like Singapore, Malaysia, Ghana even have gone ahead of us. They have been successful in raising green finance via green bonds, having those frameworks in place, and being able to diversify investors into those very important areas that they need to enable them to move or transition to a green and inclusive economy.
How then does the man on the street, the regular man, benefit from this green finance initiative? Because discussing it so far, we've talked about how the ECCB as a regulator is liaising with the financial institutions. But then how does my friend Joe on the street actually benefit? How does this affect him?
First and foremost, leadership is important when it comes to the transition. And ECCB is championing the greening of the ECCU financial system. We are uniquely poised and placed to do so as the regulator. You've pointed that out. Working with key development partners is a key, and regional development partners as well as international development partners. One, financing the transition is very costly. Secondly, ensuring that we have the right frameworks. We are an 8-island member states. We have 8 islands, so there is a bit of fragmentation. And traditionally, we've always developed rules and regulations that are uniformed and can be adapted across the member states with a bit of discretion, of course, because they each have their specificities in terms of where their regulations or incentives or policies may be. So we do allow that type of flexibility, and we have a lot of experience in deploying regional initiatives. So in developing a regional framework for attracting green investments, for integrating climate risks, and to also deploy renewable energy solutions, we are leveraging the financial sector who has direct interface with the citizens, you and me. Now, if I'm to take this home, for example, you said, Joe on the street, I think about my mom who loves her subsistence farming, having her backyard farm to ensure when I come home, you know, I have my plums and pawpaws that are there and ready. You know, she would, instead of saying, Kieran, or asking my sister, she needs some funds for the farm, she'd love to be independent and go to a credit union, her credit union, to get a small loan to do that. Yes, she may be 60 already, but in the past, when she used to have extra to produce that she could sell, you know, your grandparents, my mom, it's in her blood. She loves her farming, can't take it away from her. And we have a very large farming community, but finance in terms of agriculture has always been low. And we see subsistence farms, small farmers is what makes a difference for our region, being able to create employment for everyone. So what if the banks could have given that loan at very attractive rates?
And it's for entrepreneurs in general in our region. They continue to face challenges when accessing finance.
And you hear it all the time. ECCB has deployed several different solutions. We have the credit guarantee scheme, partial credit guarantee scheme. We have, we're coming on with this, greening the ECCU financial system, and we will be developing a lot of products so that what you hear of is the banks offering green loans. We have very few banks offering green investments or having promotions for green investments. Now we see there are one or two that are leading in the area that have taken the charge, and it's commendable. So these are our key partners that we want, not just one bank, but all the banks in the ECCU, the credit unions, the development banks, to be able to assess lending and to leverage policies that we are providing support to the governments to develop those frameworks and put in place and train their staff. So we're not just acting on the regional level, but at the country level and the institutional level. The program for greening the financial system is a 3-year program. The first year we're in the first year where we've kicked off with a diagnostic assessment of the financial system, and that would have also incorporated an inaugural high-level forum, a webinar forum in September, where we saw at least 140 participants, which were more or less persons who are leading the charge in the financial entities, not just financial entities, but the related ministries. When you think of environment, energy, these are not the typical sectors that ECCB would be involved with operationally. So we are working through the ministries, the governments, as well as the financial institutions, bringing those together, that private-public partnership that is needed to ensure that our private investment frameworks are attractive enough and we meet the needs of the citizens of the ECCU. This is really the thrust behind the greening the financial system. We have to be able to support our people, and this is what we want to do for a sustainable future, not just for me and you, but for all in all member states.
Kieran, thank you so much for speaking with us on ECCB Connects and for outlining how the ECCB is working to help the region tackle the ever-present threat of climate change head-on.
Thank you for having me, Karina. And you and I both know the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is committed to ensuring that not just our governments, but our private citizens and our businesses can compete globally and regionally. And on top of that, that we are doing it in a climate resilient way to ensure that we have green and inclusive growth. This is our future. The future of the ECCU is green.
And now for this week's financial tip.
The 30-day rule. Whenever you are considering making a frivolous purchase, wait 30 days before purchasing that item. Quite often, you will see that the urge to make that purchase would have passed, or you would have completely forgotten about the purchase, and you would have saved yourself money simply because you waited.
That's it for this episode of ECCB Connects, where we discuss the ECCB's greening of the ECCU Financial System Initiative. Green financing is the use of funds for green or climate-resilient projects. The ECCB is working with national, regional, and international partners to create a regional framework that will promote green financing and to help the region increase its access to funding for green projects. Because of the greening of the ECCU Financial System Initiative, it means that accessing funding for green or climate-friendly projects may be easier for you, particularly as a small business owner or entrepreneur. Thanks for watching, and be sure to join us next week when we bring you another episode of ECCB Connects.